Well, it is, looks like it's just past 8:30, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for the Planning and Economic Development Policy Committee on August 13th. So we'll start with approval of the minutes. Councilmember Gardner and Jurinsky, have you had a chance to review it?
I did, and I approve.
Thank you.
They're okay with me.
All right, minutes are approved. And we will move to our first item, which is the housing UDO analysis. Brandon?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. My name's Brandon Camerata. I'm a manager in the Planning and Business Development Department. Thank you for having me this morning. I think this is our third update for the committee, for this committee on the housing analysis. And just quickly, this is a project focusing on compact single-family housing options in Aurora. So as you know, our starting point is with what's in the UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, our zoning code adopted in 2019. At that point, we did add a variety of compact housing options. They've been pretty heavily used over the last 5 years. Examples are things like green courts, motor courts, and numerous other small lot sort of configurations. So one reason we're working on this project is maybe based on the success of those additions is that we're having requests to have more of those, increase allowances for those smaller lots, increase percentages of those smaller lots. And this has also been in the context of, can that provide more price points? Can that have a positive impact on attainable price points? So that's kind of the genesis or part of the genesis of the project. And so we'll be looking to address those issues and see if we can find some options to bring to City Council. We're nearing maybe the first third of the project in completion. And so things that we're getting close to finishing would be the code audit, our initial round of listening sessions, and we did a developers roundtable in July. And so what we're working towards as we wrap those up would be roundtable number 2, which is slated for either late September or early October. And what we'd like to bring to that roundtable is our intended focus or priorities in terms of what we think we can make improvements on the code based on the project scope and what we learned through our engagement through this first part of the project. And then hopefully at that point, the roundtable group can give us some concurrence on those, make some modifications, refinements. And then at that point, hopefully we'll be in position to start to identify those policy discussions that need to occur, develop backup materials and be able to facilitate any of those discussions with City Council. So we let you all know where we're headed as well. And then at the same time, start developing code as we're having those discussions in hopes of, finishing this project, first quarter 2026. That's all I have. Try to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. I'm just concerned on the timing. We've heard from developers that it's taking a long time since this process began. Since you had your roundtable in July, is there any reason why we have to wait for roundtable 2? You said September, October, and then identify policy discussions. Because I think we kind of know what the discussions are. We're trying to look at the duplexes with the small lots. I mean, is that something that can move forward a little faster?
Brandon, if I may, Janine Rustad,
Sure.
Director of Planning and Business Development. The intent is at that September, October-ish roundtable to bring forward what we see as a potential list of the changes. but with the duplexes, we last year, because remember, we did this in phases. We had identified low-hanging fruit that we brought forward and brought to adoption amendments of the UDO, including duplexes on motor courts and allowing additional homes on motor courts. So if you could, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what else with duplexes has been identified.
Well, we're trying to still identify the percentage of small lots, correct?
Correct. And with that also the layout, I believe you've been in some of the conversations, if we front load a lot of them, the street becomes unparkable. You don't have that good public realm. So it's the balance of how do we keep a great city and allow more housing?
Right.
So looking at other jurisdictions throughout Colorado, throughout the nation, to see what those best practices are and how do we incorporate that in our UDO. We are still working with developers on what we call pilot projects. If
Right.
they meet the parameters we outline, such as the street connectivity, access to walkable open space, access to commercial. We don't want to create more neighborhoods that don't have at least a planned grocery store, or that commercial area planned, and the walkability. So
Right.
we are working with developers, and when they meet those parameters, and the majority have, we're happy to bring them forward with to planning and zoning for exceptions.
So since developers develop and build out these master plan communities, they're the experts really from that perspective. Is it not possible to have a developer, maybe at the roundtable, number 2, come forward with here is exactly how you do it? Like, I feel like it's backwards. Like we're going to tell them how to do it. There might be a developer out there that knows exactly how to do it with the parameters you just stated, make the walkability, the open space or whatever. I mean, is that a possibility? So I just trying to get this to move a little faster.
On some of the design elements, for example, I have told Chris Fellows that I would like to borrow his architect, Kevin Yoshida, because he has brought forward examples. So it is that give and take.
Yeah.
Some developers do a great job. We absolutely want to learn from them. Some it's a push-pull. So
But that's what I'm saying. Sorry to interrupt. If let's say Chris Fellows at the roundtable brings forward, here's how you do this, then you would get feedback from other developers to maybe say, yeah, but that's a problem because A or B, or they go, hey, that's like phenomenal, and we're going to duplicate it. I guess I'm just looking for more concrete, like here's an actual plan that's actually been done.
And Brandon, I believe that is part of also our focus groups, our one-on-one conversations to get that information out. So then we can have the consultants look at it. How do we codify it? That's always a challenge. I think if you remember me from 3.5 years ago, I want our code to be, I don't want it to be a tome. So how
Right.
do we give the certainty, the flexibility, incorporate that? So it's, even though the roundtable is September, October, that work is ongoing.
Okay, great. Other questions from council members Gardner or Jurinsky? Not
And I
hearing
actually,
Oh,
I have a
go ahead.
question for the council members, if I may.
Yes,
Code
please.
changes are never easy. There can be a lot to review. If you can think, and you don't have to answer now, but we want to figure out what the best cadence is to bring code changes forward so that you have the time to understand what we're doing. We obviously we have study sessions, but we want to make sure we're working with you to have a successful project.
Great. And maybe some sort of workshop. I see Mayor Kaufman has his hand up. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to say, with Janine, what I've seen in Aurora over the years sometimes is you'll have a project that looks good on paper, it looks good on, the site plan looks good, and it doesn't age well. And I think if you go, I'm concerned about small lot, whether it's paired homes or small single family home, and all front loaded in terms of the garage, and just, you know, that is just going to be crammed with cars, and that development is going to age poorly. And so that's just a concern. So it may be profitable at the front end for the developer, but it's not going to look good in the long run for our city. And that's why I think it's important to look at other plans, at other jurisdictions, but not just on paper, but what do they look like as they age?
Thank you, Mayor. We share that concern. Just because something will sell doesn't mean it'll look good in 5, 10 years. So absolutely, we are doing that, and we will share examples of what we look at.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much, Brandon and Janine.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Thank you. We'll move on to the development project update. Jacob Cox, I'm really excited to hear about everything that's
Good
happening
morning.
in our city.
Well, good segue from the last presentation. Jacob Cox, Director of Development Services. I will pull up my slideshow here. All right, everybody seeing this okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so these are kind of the major projects we're going to go around the city. I think Councilman Sundberg's on. A lot of these are in Ward 2 with the Aerotropolis, so we'll talk about that. But there are major projects going on elsewhere, so we'll touch on some of the big ones we're working on. And feel free, I'll try to talk fairly quickly. I usually do for these presentations because there's a lot to cover, but feel free to stop me and I can answer any questions either during or at the end. All right. So as you all know, 163 square miles of opportunity, strategically located. Some of the targeted industries we focus on with AEDC, for example, aerospace and defense, bioscience and healthcare, renewable energy, transportation and logistics. A lot of our growth in that industrial sector and that transportation and logistics with proximity to the airport, our I-70 corridor with the warehouse districts that we've got. And some of the major users. Business-friendly city process, that's something that, in my opinion, very much sets us apart, as I've talked about on previous presentations with this group. Room to grow. We have a lot of room to grow. We're working strategically with our Aurora Water Department on how we focus on sustainable development of our infrastructure as well, so we can accommodate this growth. And then unique and innovative solutions, planning, my group with development services on engineering, traffic and building division, and Aurora Water and Pros. We work really strategically with developers to try to make sure these projects get through the process as efficiently as possible, given that everything has their complexities. So that Aerotropolis, as I mentioned, so we're going to talk about some of the major projects in that area, and then we'll go around. There's some big projects going on around the city, but Painted Prairie, Highlands, High Point, Windler, Green Valley Ranch East. Talk a little bit about some expansion plans at Gaylord Rockies, the town center at Painted Prairie, High Point, Rockies Village that is kind of coming back in for a master plan, and then some of the commercial opportunities at Windler. Here's that map, stitched overlay of our master plans in the Aerotropolis area. So for the most part, if you look at an aerial image today, a lot of that, you can see the growth and development, the grading that's occurring out there on the 470 corridor, but most of the land from Piccadilly east to Powhatan and even over to Monaghan is really covered in existing entitlements, master plans, many site plans, and I'll walk through some of the numbers in terms of the build out percentages, and then north of 70 all the way up to Denver. So that is a large focus of development right now that we're all involved in. So Gaylord Rockies, everyone's very familiar with the Gaylord. The initial build was 1.9 million square feet, 1,500 guest rooms. There's a second phase approved. Currently working through a couple projects on interior and exterior enhancements and upgrades. We've got construction pending for a 20% expansion. And then, as I mentioned, Rockies Village around the site is planned for more opportunities for a hotel, and similarly across the street, which we'll talk about, the Painted Prairie Town Center is going to be opportunities for restaurants, hotel. Gaylord, interestingly, the minute they opened, they realized they already needed more rooms. So there's zoning accommodates that in the 64th corridor. Just some images of some of the projects that they're working on, the Grand Lodge enhancements being one of them. High Point Master Plan. So this is Just going east on 64th now, so we kind of transition out of Gaylord to the multifamily components of High Point, and then on the east side of 470 is the High Point industrial area. So we'll talk a little about that in detail. Here's just some of the project details. Again, Gaylord would just be here where the text is along 64th. We've got 299 acres of residential, 126 acres of mixed use opportunities, 126 acres of commercial, and 365 acres of industrial over here for airport logistics. And a lot of users are actually in place now. 2,700 planned residential units in this master plan. We've got 1,165 units completed at this point. And then filings under review for multiple uses and infrastructure to build out the rest of this park. So it's moving pretty quickly with Gaylord as the catalyst along 64th. Painted Prairie, so just across the street from Gaylord. In this image, you can see that in the distance looking to the northwest. They started with their first phase there with the High Prairie Park. I think first phase one was around 350 units. Build the park. Again, they brought in a lot of mature landscaping. So if you drive out there today, it looks like it's been out there for 15 years, but it's really only 5 years old. 640 acres for the entire Painted Prairie Master Plan. Again, the town center is directly across 64th that goes right into Gaylord. 4,200 planned units for Painted Prairie. 1,300 units are completed at this point. They have a 59-acre town center, so we're working with Chris and Don now on trying to bring some of these users in along 64th. They do have some residential users that are coming in and under construction right now. They came in and worked with the city on providing for all of the baseline infrastructure for that 59-acre town center. So it's ready to go. So basically creating a pad ready opportunity for any users that come in so we can get them through the process really efficiently once they have somebody. And we have met with some hotels and some commercial retail opportunities. But yeah, a lot of infrastructure development underway, and they've for the most part built out most of their frontages so they can focus on these interior phases as they go. Just some images. If you haven't been out there, the High Prairie Park is a very nice park. The town center has some really interesting concepts for some flexible commercial spaces. We've talked to Don about some commercial shipping container opportunities. So Windler, same developers. Since they opened Painted Prairie, the first phase of Painted Prairie, they moved over and we've been working with them on the Windler master plan. That is 840 acres. This is at 470 and 48. It goes up, it kind of spans both sides of 470 with some, and this one has commercial and industrial opportunities as well, which Painted Prairie does not have. And we are anticipating some data centers and some other industrial, light industrial uses in Windler along 470 in Tibet, but it goes up to 56. It's just north on the east side of 470 of the Aurora Highlands. So that would be to the south along 48. And then it goes over to Harvest Road. And they've got a lot of baseline infrastructure already in the ground. They've built out Denali and this park in the middle. We're working with them on these neighborhoods surrounding that. And they have a lot of infrastructure development so they can anticipate builders coming in pretty efficiently at this point. Some images of their park spaces, 1881 Park. One thing that they did, it used to be the Windler Homestead. They've preserved the homestead on site with kind of a nice legacy homage to that homestead that we're working through with them. Aurora Highlands, this is, as everybody knows, a very large master plan. It's 4,000 acres, 974 acres of residential development, 5,000 planned residential units. We have 2,300 building permits in process at this point. 950 units are built. And so our goal with these guys is to just have as many permits on the shelf ready to go to anticipate that housing market as possible. And so we work really quickly with these guys and they have a lot of opportunities for constructability. They already have the Aurora Highlands P8 school. We are working with them right now on the northeast corner of the site along Aerotropolis to do another APS school within the Highlands. They have 22 miles of trails within this development and 13 parks. So very large. And towards the end of the slideshow, when I talk about some commercial projects, we do have a project in process now for the medical and corporate campus along 470, just south of 38. Some images from Bridgewater within the Highlands. Oh, here's the Highlands Hospital. So we have an 880,000 square foot hospital project that's now under construction for and opportunities for future expansion. So they're starting with the emergency department medical office building, and then their site plan also accommodates 5 future medical buildings. So this is improved and under construction. So you'll see that going vertical here shortly. Green Valley Ranch. So this is the Aurora portion of Green Valley Ranch along Piccadilly. part of Green Valley Ranch, obviously in Denver. So this is the Aurora portion. It covers 588 acres in our jurisdiction, 2,600 planned units. Oakwood has taken this on, is moving pretty quickly. They've roughly constructed 950 units or under construction, and then we've got filings for the majority of this master plan in progress at this point. Horizon Uptown moving south a little bit. So this is 70 and 470. So this has been on the books for quite a while at the city. I think the original master plan was 2007, 2008. Hit a pause during that recession, and so they are under new ownership now from a master development standpoint, and they've been making progress over the last year. So that project is 503 acres. A lot of opportunities along. This is actually Piccadilly Interchange on the west side of this image that goes down to the south and ties into Hogan Parkway. Colfax Avenue will switch once the interchange gets constructed and actually move south of its current alignment along 70 and go through this, creating an opportunity for actually a mixed-use town center in here south of 70, west of 470, and that will go under the highway where there's an existing connection, tie into the Crossroads parcel that has also a hospital development happening. But a lot of opportunities for future office and commercial, 3,000 planned residential units. And they do have a lot of the construction that has occurred, including this park space and some future residential along 6th Avenue and Piccadilly. And they're kind of moving north, mostly anticipating, I think, the interchange and that connectivity with realigned Colfax. South of that is Aurora 1. This is a master plan we have on the books, and we're working with these guys on infrastructure development at this point. So they have some opportunities. There's going to be a aerospace and defense related user that should be coming on site within the next year, affiliated with Buckley, given the proximity. Hogan Parkway goes through the site, ties into 470 here. And this will have a lot of nice connectivity. And I think the catalyst for this project development really kicking off is going to be the interchange with Piccadilly, which is going to be opening at the end of this year. So they have 154 acres, 1.75 to 2.5 million square feet of office commercial opportunities, and up to 2,500 residential units planned. So pretty dense community, and they are moving forward with the infrastructure development at this stage. So moving east, I'll talk about some of the commercial projects and industrial projects now. So we've got Port Colorado moving way east of the existing development patterns out by Colorado Air and Spaceport. So this is a very large project. 5,400 acres. So we have started working with them along some of their infrastructure development along the rail sort. So Union Pacific goes through here along Colfax. And this is one of our rare opportunities for rail served industrial. And this is heavier industrial. So this would be more of our I-2, which is much more intensive uses we don't want near residential compared to some of the airport logistics that's a little bit more conducive for that. So this is much further east, very large project, and some of the infrastructure development for kind of getting sites for them pad ready is underway, but it's all entitled in master plans with us. So back up to High Point, I'll talk a little about High Point, the industrial side of High Point. So they have 4.5 million square feet of Class A industrial space adjacent to the airport, multiple locations, and they offer lease, spec construction, build to suit, land sites available for developers that want to come in and buy sites. Several buildings are actually complete at this point. Dollar General is complete, working with them on Whole Foods and some other users. And one of their marketing is that they're within an hour drive of nearly 75% of the state's business and consumers. And you can say the same for any of these industrial parks that we'll talk about. Just some other images. So Whole Foods Distribution Center under construction here. Porteos just to the east. A lot of existing users in place with J.A. Green, Park DAA, Karcher, Costco. We're working with Ambrose now on pad site development along 56th. So they have 1,300 acres located within the Foreign Trade Zone, Federal Opportunity Zone, and Adams County Enterprise Zone. So lots of opportunities there that they market. Planned office, flex, industrial, aviation-oriented businesses, retail, hotel, restaurant. Several buildings are completed. Construction's ongoing. Plans for various areas are under review at this point. Focus right now, for the most part, has been working with J.A. Green as well, but 56th development has been on the forefront, and particularly with all the connectivity taking place with ARDA's infrastructure development out here. J.A. Green, Karcher, aerial view in the wintertime. Full and Wire, moving a little bit south, another master plan development for primarily industrial mixed use, but also some multifamily opportunities. So 726 acres. So this is at 56, 470. It spans both sides, and it goes north up to 64th as well. 1,200 planned multifamily units. Master plan is approved. Infrastructure plans are under review. And they actually have some approvals out there. So they are trying to get ahead of it as well. To be, I think the goal for all of these users is to be pad site ready for vertical development to be efficient. So Majestic Commerce Center, this is one of our larger industrial master plan parks. And so this is 1,610 acres. So this is at 32nd and Tower. The existing original master plan for Majestic went over to Piccadilly, and then they purchased and annexed the parcel that goes from Piccadilly to 470, from 26th to 38th. That is where Shamrock Foods now sits. That is within the master plan for Majestic. And so they have 11 million square feet of built industrial spaces. You just see some of the users. They've got, most of the biggest companies in the world in here, a couple Amazon facilities at this point, actually. Medline Industries is in Majestic, GE, Airbus, Niagara, bottling plant as well. And our recent projects included that Shamrock facility, which was a big win for the city economic development wise. They moved their headquarters from Commerce City over to Aurora, and Subaru and Amazon also opened new facilities in this park. Aurora Commerce Center is just to the east of Majestic along 26th and just west of 470. So it's the smaller commercial park there just south of 26th before you cross over into the Aurora Highlands. 153 acres. They've got buildings ranging from 130,000 square feet up to 600,000 square feet. Several buildings are under construction. They're probably 75% built out, and we're working with them right now on the buildings adjacent to Piccadilly. Stafford Logistics. This is on the west side of Horizon there. You can see on the map, Colfax bounds their north boundary. Piccadilly Interchange goes right through their site with the realigned Piccadilly, and the southern border is Hogan Parkway. And they wrap around those county properties there. So we've got multiple buildings. They have a 1 million square foot Amazon logistics center that was built. That is currently occupied by Amazon. A couple other buildings are occupied or available and were built to spec. And so they are ready to go for the commercial retail opportunities now along the interchange once the Piccadilly interchange gets built. And they've built a lot of their frontage along Piccadilly associated with the Amazon project. So we're working with them on these areas, which are going to be some retail opportunities. But they've got 4.4 million square feet of planned development, 23 acres of retail commercial, 14 acres of multifamily available as well at the corner of Colfax and Piccadilly. And they do feature a zero water cooling data center. That was one of the first ones when we implemented the large water user policies and started to work with developers. They brought the first data center that was actually a no water cooling opportunity. So that was great precedent for us to have with these guys. Sun Empire. So talk a little about the big project happening out there with Philip Morris, but it's also a large project. They've had a couple buildings in place here, building 1A and 1B on 35 and 16 acres, phase one. So they do spec industrial. And then in the case of Philip Morris, work with developers to come in, and they took down a very large portion of the site. It's a 600,000 square foot manufacturing facility working on with Philip Morris, highly complex facility. The building permit package for their tenant finish that we reviewed is 32, I believe it was 3,200 pages. It was a massive set of drawings. So, but that is under construction. They have their core and shell, their tenant finish. They are out there fully under construction at this point, and we're working with them to try and get them occupied and operational as quickly as possible. We meet with them weekly at this point with our team, from building planning inspections to make sure that we're answering any questions they have. But this will be a very nice project with, I think, about 500 jobs is what I've heard from Philip Morris. So please let me know if you all want any contact information. They have shared some information with me for our council members in terms of reaching out to your constituents if anybody's asking about job opportunities. Fitzsimmons Innovation Community, kind of shifting over. Obviously, we've got a lot of opportunities with the decommissioning of the golf course and the activity with the master plan that this committee has seen as well. Some of the original projects, 21 Fitz, which was a nice catalyst for multifamily development in this area on the campus. The Fremont, the Benson Hotel and Faculty Club is just such a nice project along Montview. Working with the campus as well. Some of these projects with, depending on federal versus state, whether they come through our jurisdiction, but the stuff on the golf course certainly will in terms of that master plan. Kind of shifting down Potomac a little bit, we've got the Aurora Mental Health and Recovery Safety Net campus. So 7 acres, 3 buildings. Phase 1 is 215,000 square feet for behavioral health. Phase 2, the medical clinic, just over 61,000 square feet. And then they've got the Potomac Housing Campus, 37,000 square feet of affordable multifamily residential happening. So they have a master plan. We're working with them on an infrastructure site plan. Phase 1 and Phase 3 are both approved. So that's an ongoing project with those 3 phases. The Erosion Regional Navigation Center campus, this was the Crown Plaza that the city purchased. This is currently in process for that rehab of this existing structure. 13 acres, the former Crown Plaza Hotel, city owned. And so this will be the campus to serve homelessness, transitional housing, employment services, workforce development, shelter, medical clinic, and more. And so our staff is working with this design team right now on delivering that project. So shifting over to Stanley, everybody's familiar with the marketplace. So just a kind of a quick snip of some of the residential in the area. So we had 168 units of multifamily on the southern lots there. This is on the Stanley site plan. 3,600 square feet of additional retail opportunities around there. And this was also, something we worked with these developers on with this urban design along 22nd here, going to the creek. That was an important opportunity. Sorry, 23rd. So they've got a lot of flexible opportunities for additional retail since Stanley is very busy. Clinton Street Tow Yard. So this is the old tow yard facility that was south of Stanley when Stanley originally opened. We were able to actually work with that tow yard owner and move him out to a site on Smith Road that was actually much more conducive, I think, for his business. He had a lot more room with that move and was able to sell this to a developer to do commercial and residential. So this is now fully built out there south of Stanley. Montview Plaza, similarly, that was the vacant big box at the corner. That was the gateway into the city. If you drive down Montview towards the campus into from Denver, so 14,000 square foot of retail there on the corner, 5,000 square feet of commercial, 395 units of residential. They've started with the residential development, and the corner retail is also up and in place. And so this is a nice tie into Stanley and really helps with some of the gateway opportunities there along fixing that corridor from some of the dilapidated structures that were there before. Some of the images of their project. This project is up now. So the point at 9 Mile, some of the commercial, the rendering here was before COVID when they had a large office building in the corner, but the residential projects are now under construction and one of them is completed, but 100,000 square foot of retail. They did have 250,000 square feet of commercial planned after the relocation of King Soopers, 500 units of residential, working on that bridge currently with Public Works at the moment. But those residential projects will be very nice. And then we continue to work with them on what the users on this corner could be at the corner of 225 and Parker. Metro Center. So this is across the street from the city. You'll see a lot of development over the next several years there with Metro Center. 50 acres of transit-oriented mixed use commercial and multifamily residential. The Sprouts is now occupied and operational. So that's great to have that on that Chambers corner. But they've got 4 active construction projects for multifamily, both market rate, affordable housing. There's a senior focused affordable housing project taking place right now as well. So this will be a very nice project. This is, I think, what those of us that have been at the city for a long time, we wanted to see a cohesive vision for that site. And I think with that developer, we've got a really great vision that's going to take place at Metro Center. So shifting down south into Councilmember Bergan's ward, so Prairie Point. This is a very large active project we're working with Oakwood. So this is 900 acres. So this is at 470 and just at the southeastern side of our jurisdiction there. So 1,786 planned units ranging from multifamily to large 1 acre estate lots. This is a golf course community. It'll be the last golf course based on that regulation that was implemented. It'll have that 18-hole championship golf course. Oakwood Homes is building the entirety of this community. 2 amenity areas, 3 parks, direct access to the High Plains Trail. We're actually working with them on that right now. So they're doing a lot of that front-end infrastructure development on the parks, the trail corridors, getting prepped to have this go. But we've got, there's a lot of activity happening with Prairie Point right now with Oakwood. Trails at Overland Ranch. So this is going to the other side there, Monaghan and County Line Road, adjacent to Douglas and Elbert counties. This one was interesting, coordinating the infrastructure along County Line Road. 360 acres. This is a mix of single family detached and attached, paired residences, parks, amenities, trails, 4 phases of development. They are currently underway on the western planning areas. They've got 10 acres of neighborhood parks, 84 acres of open space and pocket parks. So this will be a very nice community over there as well. So that was a lot of information real quickly. I'm happy to take any questions on those projects or anything else you all would like to ask me about.
Jacob, thank God you can speak really fast because you need to cover a lot. You know, this was fascinating. Just so glad we had the opportunity to have this presentation today because we hear, you know, snippets of this is happening at this time and then this is happening to see it all together is pretty amazing. I just question on the Prairie or the Painted Prairie Town Center.
Sure.
Are they developing that right now?
They are. Yep.
They are.
Yes, it's mostly, so what you'll see out there today is the pond at the corner is constructed, the infrastructure surrounding the town center, and then the internal roads are actually going in or mostly in out there. So they're going to start vertical development with the residential to the south. They've got users for that, and then we're talking to those guys about some of the users and opportunities along 64th. So we've had a couple. We had a hotel we thought was going to come through, and I think they backed off with the market conditions, but Don's always got somebody on the line.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Council members Gardner or Jurinsky, questions?
Chair Bergan.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I guess for me, Jacob, your presentation is absolutely fabulous. Couple things I'm hoping to see. You know, Shamrock opened their distribution center out there and then opened a store in Ward 1. With Costco opening their distribution center out there, I understand that we have one you know, on Havana, but I'm really hoping that there's maybe some further conversation and maybe even some incentive for them to open a store right out there in that area, in the Aurora Highlands area, in the Windler area, and not just build the distribution center, although I am very happy to have the distribution center and the amount of jobs that will create. I just hope that we are having further conversation with these folks that are building their big warehouses out here to build stores out here because it is desperately needed. And I think that there cannot be an argument that their store on Havana would be too close to the Aurora Highlands or anything like that. And I think that there's a council in place right now that would absolutely talk about tax incentives or other things to get a Costco out in that far east, northeast area of Aurora. So I just hope that we are having those conversations. The second thing, I love seeing the affordable housing projects for seniors. I don't think I saw anything mentioned for veterans. For me, that is the focus for affordable housing is for seniors and for veterans. I think the only thing that really made me feel very, very let down with this presentation, and not because of your work, Jacob, but because of what the developers are doing, is the amount of multifamily housing that is coming in, unless those are duplexes. You know, I know Councilmember Bergan and I are working on a few things to kind of bring that to a screeching halt in Aurora. But I think that is for every developer listening, that is a huge letdown for me to see the amount of multifamily housing coming into this city, unless it is duplex or affordable housing for seniors or veterans.
And I was going to add, Councilmember Jurinsky, I think we're really wanting to see a lot more for sale. And so not to say that multifamily doesn't have a place, but you know, opportunities for sale at a good price point.
Yeah.
Councilmember Gardner. Oh, sorry, Jacob, did you want to say something?
No, one thing I was going to, Councilmember Jurinsky, on your point well taken there, particularly on the opportunities for grocery stores. You know, we've been hearing that for a long time, and obviously the ICSC conference we go out and talk to those brokers. There's a Kroger deal happening at Piccadilly and 56, so that will be a grocery store in the area with King Soopers. That's going to be great. You look at some of the numbers here with the Highlands, and so that's why we're really strategic with the zoning maps. Brandon's talked about this, so we've got those opportunities, I think, that are going to be well in place so that we can go out there and market these big developments and say, hey, the rooftops are there. You need to be looking at this portion of Aurora, for example, with Costco, King Soopers, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, some of those users that maybe have been tentative before because they didn't realize the growth is happening. The growth has happened, you know.
Mhm.
So we're having
Yeah.
those conversations.
Chair, can I respond to that?
ahead.
Jacob, yeah, absolutely. And you know, and maybe this is something they all seem to want to build their warehouses out
Yeah.
here. You know, we also don't just want to be the land of warehouses. So, you know, maybe we can start to look at tying incentives to you open a warehouse out here +1, right? And meaning a store. You know, Shamrock, we didn't offer them any incentives, you know, to open that store that they did in Ward 4. I know that we did do some stuff for them to open the warehouse in Ward 2, but that store is incredible over there. You know, Yale and Havana, it's open to the public. That store is incredible. And obviously anybody who has a food license gets a deeper discount, but maybe we get creative in some of our tax incentives for these folks to build their warehouses out here. Sure, we'd love to have your warehouses, but we also need a store. You know, and kind of package some sort of tax incentive that way, because it seems like we're getting all warehouses, but you know, these people in Ward 2 and in Northeast Aurora and other parts of the city desperately need this retail.
Chair, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
Janine Restad again. Councilmember Jurinsky, thank you for that. We, just as we're doing the housing roundtables, this year, we also want to start some retail roundtables. And I think this is a great idea to get some grocers together to bring these ideas. We are talking to many of them to try and get new ones into the city. Of course, as you know, that they want to see the rooftops, the doors, to have a calculated risk, but absolutely, we will open this conversation to see if something like this could work, what it takes, if not.
Councilmember Gardner, do you have any questions? I know you had trouble accessing your microphone. Okay, we have Councilmember Sundberg. You know, most of this development is in his ward, so go ahead.
Good morning and great presentation, Jacob. Thank you. I think a lot of other cities around the nation could be almost jealous of the opportunities and momentum that we have here in Aurora for this type of expansion and economic development. My question is related to Councilwoman Bergan, related to Painted Prairie and the town center. Now, I believe there was a town hall that they had exclusively for this and some other issues for Painted Prairie a couple of nights ago. So, Jacob, what are, for those who are frustrated with, like, that might be residents around there, the slow development of the town center, what are the market realities that would slow something like that down?
Well, now we're getting into maybe Mr. Oliva's world here, but I'll try to respond to that. I think that there's a tentative market competition happening. I think for a lot of the retail development, you know, with this shift, particularly in the last 5 years, we've seen it's been a little slow, and so I think, as was mentioned, that some of that risk, they want to see no risk. You know, they want to have the rooftops are up and they know what the numbers are. You know, in my opinion, we've got 1,300 units completed within this development. So I'm a little surprised, particularly with Gaylord across the street, that we haven't seen more development along the 64th corridor with the town center. I meet with Don and Chris every week, and we talk about the market and what they're seeing. And they've always got conversations with users, hotel with mixed use, for example, opportunities. We've tried to make enough flexibility with that town center, given their visions, that we can be really nimble with anything that comes in the door. I will tell you the thing that happened with the shipping container, I think it's still a concept that Don wants to pursue, but it was going to be on one of the paths just east of the park. One block south of 64th was kind of a shipping container park with multiple restaurant opportunities. What they ran into was the shipping containers skyrocketed in price, and they had to pull back. So I think they tripled in cost, and it just made the project not viable. So they had to look at other opportunities. And the vision was really conducive for that being this cool shipping container vision around this central plaza. So we're seeing things like that occurring out there, but I can't say exactly why users haven't taken bait on that park yet.
Thank you. And Chair, if I just may make another
Go ahead.
comment regarding affordable housing, sort of the niche affordable housing. Liberty View was really well designed and well received for veterans,
Yep.
and probably should build more. And then for senior affordable housing, I know Restoration Christian Fellowship is building an affordable housing project just for seniors, and I believe there's one at Metro Center. So we are responding to that need, but yeah, it's good to see that focus. And I don't know if there's anything more coming for veterans.
I haven't heard. I don't know if Jessica's on or has heard anything in that regard, but we could certainly get back to you on that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I have one more thing. Aurora Highlands, you said, I wrote it down, 5,000 planned units. Am I
Yes.
losing my mind when I used to hear years ago it was going to be 30,000 homes?
So I think the numbers that are shown in the master plan are anticipated could be 26,000 people.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
But 5,000 units are planned in there. So, that's taken off
okay.
of that
So
unit
it's
count.
people. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've been telling people it was going to be way bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess I just want to make a point. I don't know if we have Joe Donahue, our executive director, on from E470, but we get a lot of questions about the tollway from my area south all the way through this entire area of the northeast part of Aurora. This development really would not be happening had it not been for the vision of E470 being built, because there was nothing. There were no homes. There wouldn't have been homes because there wouldn't have been a road to get there. So just wanted to say that. Okay. I think that's it. And we were going to have a presentation by the Business Advisory Board, but I believe I've been told we don't have anyone from that committee available.
Correct. I've been texting with folks and we do not, so we will continue to work with them to get them here in September.
Okay, a little bit disappointing, especially when it's on the agenda. You said there's a conflict with the time?
For their chair, but we had communicated with the vice chair to have her come and do a presentation. So we will
Okay.
follow up. Absolutely.
I was just going to say, in previous years, we've had BAB present to this committee, so hopefully we'll get them on next month. Okay. With that, I don't see any other reports from any outside organizations, unless someone is on and wants to give an update. Okay, I think that's it. So we are looking at our next meeting is what, September? Crystal, do you have that handy? 10th, right? September 10th?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the 10th.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Great presentation again, Jacob. Appreciate it. And everyone have a nice day.
Bye, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.